I'm always talking about how many people are caught up in that disease trap where people think that they've got a disease, that they're with this disease for the rest of their lives, and they'll never get out of that. But there's also people who perhaps don't even drink alcohol, but rely on alcoholics and rely on people with the disease because they rely on this for a living. Think about how much they're not going to do anything to upset that particular apple cart. If your living depends on somebody else believing that they've got a problem which is going to last for the rest of my life or their lives. This is one of those things about, we'll take an example of the pharmaceutical industry, in that you won't see very many cures coming out of the pharmaceutical industry where you take one pill and that's it, you're cured of whatever it is, whatever medical condition that you've got. Because they're not in the business of giving cures, they're in the business of giving you prescriptions that you can get over and over and over and over again. That's what they're in the business of. And there's a dilemma, I suppose, with most people who are, most right, people who are right in the head anyway. If you ask a doctor or a nurse, for instance, if they would like to cure all diseases in the world, if they would like to see disease eradicated so nobody else is sick, right? If they're coming from a purely moralistic point of view, then they're going to probably answer yes. But as soon as they start thinking about things from a realistic point of view, if you cure disease, if you cure all illnesses and nobody needs hospitals anymore, nobody needs doctors anymore, all of these people are going to be put out of a job. So everything that they've studied is gone. Everything that they've learned is gone. They've got to learn something new and start afresh. And that happens all the time. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. There's people nowadays, I think, a lot of truck drivers, for instance, nowadays are going to be out of a job in 10 years' time because the speed at which autonomous vehicles are being built these days is just amazing, and it's speeding up as well. So that whole process is accelerating, and once they get to a certain point where the vehicle is able to drive not just twice as good as any driver, but 10 times as good, you won't be able to drive on the road. There'll be nobody that will be legally, unless you get an advanced driving test, because your car can do it a lot better than you can. And that will cut down on a lot of the road deaths. Getting a little bit ahead of myself here. If there's a cure for a disease and you happen to be the person or the group of people that discover the cure for a particular disease, then maybe you want it. But if you look at things from the perspective of the alcohol industry and the quit alcohol industry, you've got the alcohol industry that they want as many people as they can drinking their product. They want to normalize as much as they can. They want as many, they would reduce the age of alcohol consumption if they could. The younger you get people onto any drug, the more likely they are to stay on that drug for longer. So they don't want it called a drug. They don't want alcohol called a drug. They don't want to be called drug dealers or drug pushers or drug barons, although that's what we know they are by a different name. Just because they're legal, they're doing exactly the same thing. The legality of it is a moralistic point of view. It's not a realistic point of view. And if you lump in heroin dealers with alcohol dealers, the only difference between them is that the heroin dealers are probably just putting shit into their product, and their product is probably a lot less safe in terms of, if you took pure heroin, it would probably be one of the safer drugs out there to take. It's the same thing with prices. If you put the price of alcohol up, less people are going to drink it. All of these things, the alcohol companies, the same as the cigarette companies, they're looking for a market which goes up and not down, because when it goes down, they're losing money. And it's the same with the quit alcohol industry. How many people would lose their jobs if you stopped drinking alcohol, if everyone in the world stopped drinking alcohol? A lot of people would lose their livelihoods because they rely on this alcoholic diseased concept, the alcoholic concept where you're always an alcoholic and you can never get away from that label. This is one of the lessons that I learned a few years ago when I was doing some economics courses. And they were talking about, let's say, a product like broccoli. There is no unique selling proposition with broccoli. So one piece of broccoli that this guy over here is selling is just as good as another piece of broccoli. And if the prices differ so much, then the guy with the lowest price is going to get the product. So what they do is they manufacture things out of the broccoli, right? So if you go to our local supermarket, a kilo of broccoli is probably €1, something around that level. If you buy a kilo of organic broccoli, that's going to be about €3, right? So just the word organic on it. If you buy normal broccoli, but it's chopped up, so the stems are all chopped off it, then you're looking at about €4, €4.50 a kilo. If you look at broccoli rice, which is heavily chopped up, so it's not only just the stem chopped off it, but all the rest of it is all chopped up until it looks like rice. That's about $5.50 a kilo. If you look at tenderloins, which is young broccoli shoots, that's about $6.50 a kilo. And then if you want organic tenderloins, they're about €10 a kilo. We can go up. You can go all the way up to a posh restaurant where somebody gives you a bit of broccoli on a plate and adds a little bit more to it, and you're being charged €50 for a plate of the same stuff. So it's all about adding value. And the same thing happens with the alcohol industry. I mean, alcohol itself is not of great value, but stick it into a bottle, call it a fancy name, leave it on a shelf for a few years in what they call the maturing process, but put it into an auction, you can get 100,000 for one bottle of wine. I mean, I know it's old wine, but it's still, there's the perceived value. The same thing goes with the quit alcohol industry. I mean, if you take a very simple start out, let's say the base model is AA. I mean, it's free to everyone. So I think you pay for, you might give some dues, but I don't think that's necessary. I think, it's just to pay for the coffee and the rental of the room and all that kind of stuff. But there's no real system. There's no basis behind it apart from the 12 steps. Everyone follows the 12 steps. But a lot of people, this is the only thing that they get onto as the start of their journey. But you can take that same model, the 12-step model, and put it into a hotel-like setting with some medical staff and some fancy bits and pieces. And you can still teach the 12-step stuff, and you can charge a fortune for it, $20,000, $30,000 a month is not unheard of in these industries. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with added value. I think, the way that we're teaching about alcohol is that once you stop drinking alcohol, which is a disengagement with the old behavior, and that's all you're doing when you stop drinking alcohol. You're totally disengaging with it, and you're refusing to do it anymore. You're refusing to put it into your mouth anymore. Then you change the habit. You change all the basic structure underneath it. You change it by systems. We have plenty of systems, and we use processes to go all the way through the transition model, and then we go into transformation, and it's a step by step. And then we've got the live sessions, we've got the community. So we've a lot of stuff that we add value to a person's journey, and we teach. So at the end of the day, if the alcohol myth went out of the window, if everyone stopped drinking tomorrow, we wouldn't be out of a job, because we still have a lot to teach, but there's a lot of stuff. I read a book called Manufacturing Depression. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was sort of, the whole book is about a journey from the first drugs that were invented, a couple of centuries ago only, not too long ago. I'm talking about the first manufactured drug. Heroin's been around for a long time, or morphine, or that derivative. Cocaine has been around for a long time. Marijuana, tobacco, alcohol has been around for a long time. So I'm talking about manufactured drugs for a specific purpose of trying to solve something inside. And since then, there's been a lot of diseases that have been invented. There's been a lot of drugs that were invented, and once the drug is invented, then they've tried to invent a disease to fit the drug, if you get what I mean. So this is manufacturing depression, manufacturing illness, manufacturing disease. And a lot of this comes down to what they call medical imperialism, that the doctors know best, the medical profession knows best, psychiatrists know best, psychologists know best, and you must go through this whole sequence of events to get your blessing in order to serve. It was one of the reasons why I stopped and may not go back to my psychology degree, was because most of the stuff that I was learning I would never use, and it was just useless to me, and it was against what I had learned myself. But I wouldn't be allowed to practice that stuff underneath a psychologist. I don't know if I could or not. But so there's a lot of medicalizing problems, medicalizing sadness, medicalizing anxiety, and most certainly medicalizing disease, medicalizing alcoholics. So the point of this video is that there are a lot of people who are addicted to the addicted staying addicted, if you know what I mean. So there's a lot of people who are addicted who cannot help but keep that flow going of disease mindset, that if they stop the disease concept, these people are going to be out of a job. And I'm not saying that this is something which is wrong. If I was in a job like that and I had a mortgage to pay and I've got bills to pay, I've got my kids to feed and stuff, you're going to do everything you can to keep your job, including blocking off a lot of information that would otherwise make you stand up and say, hey, I don't believe in this stuff anymore. And if you do that, most of the time you're going to get kicked out of a job anyway. It's only people like me who are not beholden to anyone else. The only people that we're beholden to is YouTube, and even with YouTube gone, we can still advertise. So it's not a big deal. So anyway, I just thought I'd put that out there today, just as I thought it was an interesting topic, just to dwell a little bit on. A lot of people that are making money, a lot of people who are making a lot of money, a lot of people who are reliant on keeping the addicted. Take care of yourself. I'm Kevin O'Hara for Habits Unplugged. We help people to stop drinking alcohol and to live the best possible versions of themselves. Onwards and upwards. Take care. Bye now.